ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we will continue from where we left. We are in the second sloka of the sixth chapter, and Brahmaji is explaining to Narada the various aspects of creation and how the creation in itself has come about. And we are now seeing the continuation of that, and the chapter name was Purusha Shukta confirmed. So as we go ahead, we will see all those things also. So now we will start. सर्वासूनां च वायोश्च तन्नासे परमायने अश्विनोरोषधीनां च ग्राणो मोद प्रमोदयोः. His two nostrils are the generating centers of our breathing, and of all other airs, his smelling power generates the Ashwini Kumara demigods and all kinds of medicinal herbs and Ashwini Kumaras and all kinds of medicinal herbs. And his breathing energies produce different kinds of fragrance. Okay, just a minute. Okay. So here we see that the air factor is the factor that actually keeps the health on. So we saw in one of the previous purports that how if the person's air is good in the body, so then actually he can maintain a very good health, right? So here we see that the Lord's breathing power, when the Lord actually breathes, so his nostrils, it controls the whole universal air circulation. And also from there comes Ashwini Kumaras, who are the original doctors of the creation. So they are the ones who are the doctor amongst the devatas, demigods. And then they they have all the medicinal herbs and all the various medicinal things and things like that. So the Ashwini Kumaras, actually they're very expert in that. And Ashwini Kumaras and the medicines, they are all generated by the nostrils of the Virata Purusha. And the Lord's breathing, it produces the different kinds of fragrance in this creation. Text 3. Rupanam tejasam chakshur divya suryasya chakshini karno disham chathirthanam shrotram akasha shabdayo. His eyes are the generating center of all kinds of forms, and they glitter and illuminate. His eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. His ears hear from all sides and the receptacles for all the Vedas. And his sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and of all kinds of sound. Okay? So, purport: the word Tirthanam is sometimes interpreted to mean the places of pilgrimage, but Srila Jiva Goswami says that it means the reception of the Vedic transcendental knowledge. The propounders of Vedic knowledge are also known as the Tirthas. Tirtha means where the Lord resides, and then if somebody is like propounding the Vedic knowledge, and he's also a place from where the Lord actually manifests, right? So he's also called as a Tirtha. And then text 4, Tadgatram vastu saranam Saubhagasya cha bhajanam Tvagasya sparshabhayoscha sarvamedasya chaivahi. His bodily surface is the breathing ground for the active principles of everything and for all kinds of auspicious opportunities. His skin, like the moving air, is the generating center of all kinds of sense of touch and is the place for performing all kinds of sacrifice. And so here we see that all various functionalities of this, all various things that we can actually experience in this world is mapped to the personality of the Godhead and the personality of the Virata Purusha. So in this way, like we can actually see everything that exists in this world as part and parcel of the Lord. Right? Purport: the air is moving agent of all the planets, and as such, uh, the generating centers for promotion to the uh, deserving planets, the sacrifice, are his bodily surface and are naturally the origin of all auspicious opportunities. So, Romani Udbija Jati Nam Yerva Yajnastu Sambratah Kesha Mashru Nakanyasya Shila Lobhabra Adyutham. The hairs on his body are the cause of all vegetation, particularly of those trees which are required as ingredients for sacrifice. The hairs on his head and face are the reservoirs for the clouds, and his nails are the breeding ground of electricity, stones, and iron ores. So now it's like basically this Virata Purusha is an imaginary form where all aspects of this creation is mapped onto his personality. Right? So purport: the polished nails of the Lord generate electricity, and the clouds rest on the hair of his head. One can therefore collect all sort of necessities of life from the person of the Lord, and therefore the Vedas affirm that everything that is produced is caused by the Lord. The Lord is the supreme cause of all causes. बाहवो लोकपालानां prayasha kshema karmanam. The Lord's arms are the productive field for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. So Bahu means like the hands of the Lord is going to, what is that, Shema Karanam, Prayasa Shema Karanam. So like they are the ones who give protection to the people in general, and that is represented by the devatas and the general leaders of the people. So all of them, they are representatives of the Lord. Right? Actually, the moment we accept a leadership position, immediately we should act as a representative of the Lord. So that's the purpose of the leadership. This important verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is corroborated and nicely explained in Bhagavad Gita 10:41-42 as follows: Yadyad vibhuti mat sattvam Srimad urjitam evava tat tat eva vagachatvam mama tejomsa sambhavam. Atava bahunaithena kim jnathena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam krishtam ekhamshena stito jagat. There are many powerful kings, leaders, learned scholars, scientists, artists, engineers, innovators, excavators, archaeologists, industrialists, politicians, economists, business magnates, and many more powerful deities or demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varuna, and Marut, who are all protecting the interest of the universal affairs of maintenance in different positions, and all of them are different powerful parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. So this is a very important thing. Like, so it's like all the learned scholars, leaders, scientists, everyone. So why they have to be called as different parts or limbs of the Lord? So leaving aside the conception of the imaginary form of the Virata Purusha, even if we take the sloka of this Bhagavad Gita, Yatyat Vibhutimat Sattvam Srimat Urjitam Evava Tatat Eva Vagachatvam Mama Tejomsa Sambhava. So he is here, the Lord is telling, Yadyat Vibhutimat Sattvam. No, wherever you find there is some vibhuti, there is some energy or power or something like that, it is all coming from me, Mama Tejomsa Sambhavam, right? So it is possible, because it is Mama Teja. it is my energy, it is my power. So when we have some specific capacities and qualities and things like that, we should always treat it as a blessings of the Lord. Because in fact, all the energy, all the capacities in this world belongs to the Lord, and it is only by the mercy of the Lord we can have some portion of them, right? So in that way, like all these great personalities who are displaying any kind of capacity or intelligence or whatever it is in this world, it is all, we should understand, mama tejom sambhavam. No, it is all because of the power of the Lord, because of the specific, so we can say that vibhuti means the energy or opulence. No, vibhuti means opulence. So the opulence, that we may have in terms of intelligence or money power or interpersonal skills or whatever it may be, it is just but a small amsha of the Lord. No, mama tejom sambhava. It is possible only because of my energy. No, Krishna is telling. That's why we should always feel that whatever I have is Krishna's property. No, including my capabilities and things like that. And if Krishna wants, no, he can anytime take it back. No, he's completely free to do anything. And if I have something, I should not be very proud of, because anyway it is borrowed property of the Lord. And if I don't have, no, why should I bother? No, anyway, I don't have anything. If Krishna gives me to care for something, I have to take it and use it in his service. And if he has not given me anything, no, whatever is there, no, with that I will do the service. So, like, there is no need of be demanding something from the Lord. You give me this, you give me that, right? So it is all his property, and if he wants his property to be used in some service, like, he will give it to us. No, we are his servants. And if he doesn't want us to use that, he may take it back. So in both the cases, we should not be very much worried. No, anyway, this is not our property, it's Krishna's property. No, he is at his will, he can do anything and everything with his property, right? So that is the case with all the other devatas also. Here Prabhupada is listing all the devatas like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, amongst the list of all the great people in this world, like scientists, scholars, engineers, and things like that. So these people are differently capable, and they are also, like, these devatas are differently capable, and they are also, like, possible only because of mama tejom sambhavam, only because of the energy of the Lord or power of the Lord, right? So then we have the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the father of all living entities who are placed in different high and low positions according to their desires or aspirations. Some of them, as particularly mentioned above, are specifically endowed with powers by the will of the Lord. A sane person must know for certain that a living being, however powerful he may be, is neither absolute nor independent. All living beings must accept the origin of their specific power as mentioned in this verse. And if they act accordingly, then simply by discharging their respective occupational duties, they can achieve the highest perfection of life, namely eternal life, complete knowledge, and inexhaustible blessings. So this is Sachidananda in a different way, like the Prabhupada is putting here. As long as the powerful man of the world do not accept the origin of their respective powers, namely the personality of Godhead, the actions of Maya or illusion will continue to act. The actions of Maya are such that a powerful person, misled by the illusory material energy, wrongly accepts himself as all in all and does not develop God consciousness. As such, the false sense of egoism, namely myself and mine, has become overly prominent in the world, and there is a hard struggle for existence in human society. The intelligent class of man, therefore, must admit the Lord as the ultimate source of all energies, and thus pay tribute to the Lord for his good blessings. Right? So this is a very, very important thing. Whenever we get something with us, we should always feel this is a blessings of the Lord. Right? So this is a blessings of the Lord. Even if I'm a pauper, even if I'm loitering in the street, if I get a small piece of a small little quantity of food, I'm starving for days, but then I'm getting a little quantity of food. Even that is also a blessing of the Lord. Actually, I don't have anything. No, whatever I receive is just the blessings of the Lord, and I should not feel very proud of being blessed with something, right? So we should always feel we should always give the glory to the person who supplied it. Not no, we are just the caretakers of it. No, what glory does we have? Do we have? No, we don't have anything of that sort. We should always give the glory to the Lord. Simply by accepting the Lord as a supreme proprietor of everything, since He is actually so, one can achieve the highest perfection of life. Whatever a person may be in the estimation of the social order of things, if a person tries to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is situated with the blessings of the Lord, he will at once feel the highest peace of mind for which he is hankering life after life. Now, this is what we are actually hankering for. Now, when we are trying for a better job, when we are trying for a better livelihood, when we are trying for better home and things like that, what we are actually looking for is Krishna. We think that if I adjust the situation, my life will become happy forever, and I will not have to. I don't need to have. I don't need to go through the same problems which I'm going through. But the problem is we are taking shelter in the material aspects of the Lord, the material nature. So the material nature cannot completely reciprocate with us and satisfy us fully. But then if we take shelter of the Supreme Lord, so then we will be completely satisfied. So the way we want to reciprocate, the way we want, like we may have so many relations in this world. No, every relation may be bitter, and some relation may is yet to become bitter. No, I would say so. No relationship in this world can become very nice, right? So, but then if we have the relationship with the Supreme Lord, He is all perfect in reciprocation. He will reciprocate exactly, to our satisfaction. So, actually, Krishna is what we are looking for in every sphere of life. And then, we are looking for Krishna in the material things, and then we get dissatisfied. Oh, this thing has not satisfied me fully. Oh, that person has not satisfied me fully, and this engagement has not satisfied me fully. And it is because we are looking for Krishna in all these material things. And these material things, poor material things, how much of satisfaction it can offer me? No, it cannot offer me any satisfaction as I desire, right? So this is what we are actually hankering for. No, Krishna is what we are actually hankering for in life after life. And then, if we actually find them, then we will become completely peaceful at heart. Peace of mind, or in other words, the healthy state of mind, can be achieved only when the mind is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The parts and parcels of the Lord are endowed with specific powers for rendering service unto the Lord. Just as the big business magnate's sons are empowered with specific powers of administration, the obedient son of the father never goes against the will of the father, and therefore passes life very peacefully in in concurrence with the head of the family, the father. Similarly, the Lord being the father, all living beings should fully and satisfactorily discharge the duty and the will of the father as faithful sons. This very mentality will at once bring peace and prosperity to human society. Right? So we are all children of God, and then God has empowered us with some power and capacity. And for what purpose? To be used in His service, right? So we should not have any hesitation about this particular thing, or we should not have even doubt about this particular thing, that why should I serve the Lord? Okay, service to Lord is okay, why should I serve the Lord all the time, right? So it is because He is the Lord and proprietor of everything all the time, and we have to be engaged in His service because we are His property and we are His amsha, and we have to be engaged in His service. That's the natural thing, right? So 6.7, vikarmo vikarmo bhurvasvascha shemasya sharanasya cha sarvakamavarasyapi hares charana aspadam. Thus, the forward step of the Lord are the shelter of the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as the protection from all kinds of fear. This is a nice thing. So, when in aspects of fear, so the moment we remember the Lord, the moment we are properly concentrating on the Lord, so immediately we become relieved of fear, of this world. It's a very important principle, actually, right? So fear, whenever there is fear, if there is remembrance of the Lord, the fear cannot be there. Purport: for absolute protection from all sorts of fear, as well as for all our needs of life, we must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? So one, not only in this planet, but also in the upper, lower, and heavenly planets. This absolute dependence on the lotus feet of the Lord is called pure devotional service, as it is directly hinted at within this passage. No one should have any kind of doubt in this matter, nor should one be inclined to seek the help of any other demigods, because all of them are dependent on Him only. Everyone except the Lord Himself is dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Even the all pervading super soul is also dependent on the supreme aspect of Bhagavan, the personality of God. So here is a very important point. Now we see the Paramatma is Lord Himself, right? So Paramatma is Vishnu Murti, and like here it is mentioned that even Paramatma is also a dependent factor. Now, how is it possible? Like Paramatma is the same as the Supreme Lord. No, same as no Supreme Lord Vishnu or Krishna. So how is it that he is called as a dependent factor on the Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead? So here Bhagavan means, no, Prabhupada is referring to Krishna, right? So Krishna is the original person, and all other expansions of Krishna are the Vishnu Murtis, like Vishnu Tattva. They are called as Swa-amsha. That means one's own form. No, his Lord Krishna's personal forms they are. So they are non-different from Krishna, and they are like no, they are the Supreme Lord. So now, why is this distinction that Super Soul or Paramatma is being a dependent entity on Bhagavan? Is he not the same entity? No, he is actually the same entity. It is mentioned, like we had discussed this particular analogy of the moon, the different phases of moon. So the different phases of moon, and that is how the various incarnations of the Lord is explained. So when a particular phase of the moon is there, so that means it is not that the moon is cut to pieces. No, it is just only a portion of the moon is visible. In the same way, when the Lord takes different incarnations, only a portion of Himself is revealed, and then no, like, but then if the Lord were to manifest all His opulences, then he is called Krishna, right? So now, if we see the Krishna's existence is what is making other Vishnu Murti's existence possible. It is not from Vishnu Murti we are adding something to get Krishna. It is from Krishna we are hiding something to get other avatars of the Lord, right? So it is the Krishna's form is the basis, of everything else. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita very nicely it explains. It says that. No, Ekala Ishvara Krishna. That means there is only one Ishvara, that is Krishna. Ara Sabhabhritya. No, everyone else is servant of the Supreme Lord. No, that includes even the Vishnu Tattvas. No, all the other forms of the Lord, including Balaram, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Vasudeva, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, everyone, all of them are subservient to the form of the Supreme Lord Krishna, though in one sense they are non-different. They are the same person, but still, like no, everything is no, Krishna is considered to be the pivotal force of everything that exists. Right? Text 8. Apam Viryasya Sargasya Parjanasya Prajapatehe Pumsaha Shishna Upastastu Prajati Ananda Nivratehe. From the Lord's genitals originate water, semen, generatives, rains, and the procreators. His genitals are the cause of pleasure that counteracts the distress of begetting. The distress of begetting. Purport. The genitals and the pleasure of begetting counteracts the distress of family encumbrances. One would cease to generate altogether if there were not, by the grace of the Lord, a coating of pleasure-giving substance on the surface of the genitive organs. This substance gives a pleasure so intense that it counteracts fully the distress of family encumbrance. A person is so captivated by this pleasure-giving substance that he is not satisfied by begetting a single child, but increases the number of children with a great risk in regard to maintaining them. Simply for this pleasure-giving substance, This pleasure-giving substance is not false, however, because it originates from the transcendental body of the Lord. In other words, the pleasure-giving substance is a reality, but it has taken on the aspect of pervertedness on account of material contamination. In the material world, sex life is the cause of many distress on account of material contact. Therefore, the sex life in the material world should not be encouraged beyond the necessity. There is a necessity of generating progeny even in the material world, but such generation of children must be carried out with full responsibility for spiritual values. The spiritual values of life can be realized in the human form of material existence, and the human being must adopt family planning with reference to the context of spiritual values and not otherwise. The degraded form of family restriction by use of contraceptives, etc., is the grossest type of material contamination. Materialists who use these devices want to fully utilize the pleasure potency of the coating on the of the genitals by artificial means without knowing the spiritual importance and without knowledge of spiritual value. The less intelligent man tries to utilize only the material sense pleasure of the genitals. Right? So here, one thing that is need to be like noted down is that no one should take full responsibility. The family planning should be based on full responsibility. That when someone gives birth to a child, so then it is very important to make sure that they are getting spiritual guidance, right? So if it is mentioned that one should not become a spiritual master or a leader or a father or a mother, any responsible position wherein there are subordinates, if they are not willing to guide the subordinates in spiritual path. So if they are not willing to guide the subordinates in spiritual path, they should not take any leadership position or any position where they are guiding people, right? So even including the father and mother. So no, this is the spiritual family planning. No, if I'll not be able to take care of them in all the respective aspects, then I must not beget children, right? So if I or I must not become a leader or any of the leadership positions, right? And then if anything of this world is used only for the purpose of sense gratification, that is going to bring about misery, right? So it should be done with proper spiritual values and proper spiritual culture. That's the main point of this sloka. Text 9. Prayur yamasya mitrasya parimokshasya narada himsaya nirrither mrityor nirayasya gudam smritaha. O Narada, the evacuating outlet of the universal form of the Lord is the abode of the controlling deity of death, Mitra, and the evacuating hole and the rectum of the Lord is the place of envy, misfortune, death, hell, etc. Right? All the bad qualities are placed there. Text 10. Parabhuteradharmasya tamasaschapi paschima nadhyo nadinam cha gotranam asti samhitaihi. The back of the Lord is a place of all kinds of frustration and ignorance, and as well as for immortality. Um, okay, from his veins flow the great rivers and rivulets, and on his bones are and on his bones are stacked the great mountains. Great mountains are called as his bones. Purport. In order to defy the impersonal conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a systematic analysis of the psychological and anatomical constitution of his transcendental body is given here. It is clear from the available description of the body of the Lord, his universal form, that the form of the Lord is distinct from the form of ordinary mundane conception. In any case, he is never a formless void. Ignorance is the back of the Lord, and therefore ignorance of less intelligent class of men is also not separate from his bodily conception. Right? Since his body is the complete whole of everything that be, one cannot assert that he is impersonal only. No, on the contrary, the perfect description of the Lord holds that he is both impersonal and personal simultaneously. The personality of Godhead is the original feature of the Lord, and his impersonal emanation is but the reflection of his transcendental body. Those who are fortunate enough to have a view of the Lord from the front can realize his personal feature, whereas those who are frustrated and are thus kept on the ignorant side of the Lord, or in other words, those who have the view of the Lord from the back, realize him in his impersonal feature. So impersonal feature, many times we have discussed, it is nothing but the Brahma Jyoti, Brahmanohi Pratishtha Aham. So the Lord says that no, the Brahman resides in me, or Brahman rests in me. So that way, the impersonal feature of the Lord is also a feature of the Lord. It is not that impersonal feature doesn't exist. The impersonal feature of the Lord also exists. The Brahma Jyoti exists. But then those who are fortunate enough to have the darshan of the Lord from the front, they are considered to be more fortunate. They are able to see the beautiful transcendental form of the Lord. But then, if somebody is not so fortunate, somebody is sinful, or somebody is not very fortunate to have the darshan of the Lord, so then they are in the backside of the Lord, and they may only appreciate the Brahma Jyoti, no effulgence of the Lord. They can never appreciate the personal beauty of the Lord. Right? So that's mentioned here. Text 11. अव्यक्तरससिन्धूनां भूतानां निधनस्य च उदरं विदितं पुंसो हृदयं मनसः पदम्. The impersonal feature of the Lord is the abode of great oceans, and his belly is the resting place for the materially annihilated living entities. So in the Kurukshetra war, we can see that Krishna actually shows the Virata Rupa, and then he shows that how all the soldiers of the Kaurava army and the Pandava army are being devoured by the Virata Purusha. And it is mentioned that all these great warriors, they are just gushing into the mouth of the Virata Rupa, and then sometimes their heads are getting stuck between the two teeth of the Lord, no, the Virata Purusha. And then Arjuna is having such a ghastly vision, over there standing in the battlefield when the Virata Rupa darshan is given, right? So, like there we can see that all, the belly of the Lord is what? The resting place for the materially annihilated living entities. So he just devours. Now his mouth is also called as the Kala Rupa. No, he devours all the people from time to time. So this is one of the important conception of the Lord we should understand. The materialist, no, they would not understand this concept of the Lord. So for them, God means what? No, God must do good for us. God must keep me healthy. God must keep, do everything nicely, and God must keep giving good money and things like that for me and things like that. They have only one-sided image of the Lord. This is another side of the image of the Lord. That is, he is also the destroyer of everything that exists, right? So it is not that if it were that God is only all good, God is only he's only giving all good things to us. So that means what? No, where will you place the bad things of this world? That means something exists which is beyond the Lord. That cannot be possible. Everything that exists is within his capacity, and in him everything exists. So all the bad, good, everything exists in the Lord, and nothing is there apart from the Lord. Right? So that is a very, very important Siddhanta, very important philosophical point we should understand. Good, bad, everything resides in the Lord only, right? So we see the front side of the Lord is the dharma, and the back side of the Lord is the adharma, or the place of ignorance, right? So it is, everything is part of the Lord's existence, and nothing is apart from the Lord's existence. So in this way, like when a devotee of the Lord, when he goes through difficulties in the life, what he thinks, oh, this is also another feature of the Lord, no, and then he is not bewildered, and he is able to see the Lord even in that adverse situation, and he is happy all the time, right? So because he's seeing that everything that happens is it's perfectly within the control of the Lord. So it's a very, very important thing to understand for us. God is not just all good, he is everything, everything that exists, right? Okay, so his heart is the abode of the subtle material bodies of the living beings, and thus it is known by the intelligent class of men. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 8:17 and 18, it is stated that according to human calculation, one day of Brahma is equal to 1,000 ages of 4 millennia. The 4 millennia is 43 lakh years, and then 1,000 of them, that is like 430 crores, something it comes. No, that is the what is it? Sorry, one day of Brahma is like no, little lesser than that. Yeah, so thousand Chaturyugas actually happen. So, anyways, the period, the 43 lakh years. Is actually the one day of Brahma. Yeah, 1 day of Brahma. And that period is calculated to be his night also. The same length is the night of the Brahma. Right? So a Brahma lives for 100 such years and then dies. A Brahma who is generally a great devotee of the Lord attains liberation after such downfall. The universe called the Brahmanda, or the round football like domain controlled by a Brahma, is thus annihilated. Right? So Brahmanda becomes annihilated when Brahma is died. When Brahma is finished, then the whole Brahmanda is annihilated. Right? And thus the inhabitants of a particular planet or of the whole universe are also annihilated. They are all destroyed. Avyakta means, Avyakta mentioned here in this verse means the night of Brahma. When means Vyakta or Vyakti means like personal, and Avyakta means like impersonal. That's the general meaning of the this one. But here Avyakta means the night time of Brahma that is mentioned here. When the partial annihilation takes place and the living entities of that particular Brahmanda up to the planet of Brahmaloka, along with the big oceans, etc., all repose in the belly of the Virata Purusha. So this is a very important thing. Like when Brahma sleeps, no, except for Brahmaloka, all other planetary systems are completely destroyed. So that's how costly the sleep of Brahma, right? So now sometimes we take day rest, night rest, and things like that, and also for us, like sleeping is yet another activity in the day. So it is not something very great. But if Brahma sleeps, what is that going to happen? The whole Brahmanda gets finished. Completely it gets finished, and only his planet is remaining. And if he dies, even that is finished. The whole Brahmanda is completely wiped off. No, that's the this one of Brahma, right? So in the night time, all the big oceans, all the creations which is there in the 14 planetary system, except for Brahmaloka, rest 13 planetary system is completely taken off, and then they all go to the belly of Virata Purusha, and that's where they reside for the Brahma's night. And Brahma wakes up, he has to create all the 13 planetary systems again, except for his 14th planet, that will not get destroyed, but then the other planetary systems are completely destroyed, and he has to create all of them. Every single day he has to create the whole thing, all over again. So that's his job, right? So at the end of Brahma's night, the creation again takes place, and the living entities reserved within the belly of the Lord are let loose to play their respective parts of as if being awakened from a deep slumber. Since the living entities are never destroyed, the annihilation of material world does not annihilate the existence of the living entities. But until liberation is attained, one has to accept one material body after another again and again. So this is the most painful thing, so we don't get destroyed. Living entities can never become destroyed. So we can try to commit suicide or whatever it is. That's actually a biggest foolishness to commit suicide. So if like it is like if we are there in a jail, and then if we escape from the jail, and we'll be caught, and then we'll be put inside the jail with more punishment. So first is that the term of whatever reason I was there in the for the first time in the jail. So that term has to be completed, and after that, I committed another offense of escaping from the jail. And for that also, I have to serve a term of punishment in the jail. So these two things, if I commit suicide, so this body is like a jail, wherein it has yatana sharir, it is mentioned. That means this body is designed for giving my karmic reactions of previous life. And if I quit this body, that means what? I am forcibly trying to escape from the jail. So I will be put with more punishment, and no living entity doesn't die, and I have to go to another location and experience more pain. Why to do that? An intelligent kaidi or a prisoner will say, okay, fine, I committed a mistake, let me serve this punishment, and then let me get free. That's the proper attitude of a person. So like, why to shortcut this one, and why to take some reverse or some why to take some wrong kind of decisions in this way, in terms of what is it trying to escape the death and things like that. So that's not, so escape the problems of the life. That's not the proper way of doing it, right? So in this way, we have to pay for our own karma, whether in this life or in the next life. So better not escape from anything. No, better face everything that comes in the life. No, that's by facing everything that comes in the life, we can actually solve the problems of life very quickly, rather than trying to find some patch-up solution through other material means, right? And then by performance of devotional service, our karma gets destroyed, no, so much. So better as well we perform devotional service rather than trying to find some shortcuts, to escape from the problems of life. No, that is not very good. Hmm? So the human life is meant for making a solution. I think we read till there. Okay, yeah. The human life is meant for making a solution to this repeated change of bodies and thereby attaining a peace in the spiritual sky where everything is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. In other words, the subtle form of living entities take place in the heart of the Supreme Being, and such forms take tangible shapes at the time of creation. Right? So it is all our desires, all our past karma, everything is recorded and stored, and then when the next day of Brahma starts, when we have to take birth, we are again, loaded with our own karma, and then we are sent uh, into the creation, right? Text 12. Dharmasya mama tubhyam cha kumaranam bhavasya cha vijnanasya cha sattvasya parasyatma parayanam. Also, the consciousness of that great personality is the abode of religious principles, mine, yours, and those of the four bachelors, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara, and Sanandana. That consciousness is also the abode of truth and transcendental knowledge. So here is saying that also the consciousness of that great personality is the abode of religious principles. So this pure consciousness, what is there of the Supreme Lord, or the Virata Purusha. So that is represented by the Brahma. No, Brahma is addressing himself. Mine, yours means Narada is the hearer, and then the four sons of the four sons of the Brahma. So that is Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara, and Sanandana. This is Chatush Kumaras they are called. So all of them, these all of them are representing the consciousness of the Lord. That means they are very, very pure in their existence. These all these personalities, right? So next sloka. Aham bhavan bhavaschaiva taime munayo grajaha sura sura nara naga kada mriga sharish priha gandharvapsaro yaksha rakshabhuta kanoraha pasavah पितरसिद्धा विद्याधरश्चारण द्रुमः अन्ये च विविधा जीवा जलस्थले नभौकश ग्रह ग्रहर्क्ष खेतवस्तारास् तडित स्तन नवः सर्वं पुरुष एवेदं भूतं भव्यं भवच्चयत् तेनेदम् आवृतं विश्वं वितस्तिम् अभितिष्ठति. Okay, so beginning from me, Brahma, down to you and Bhava. Bhava means Shiva, and all the great sages who were born before you, the demigods, the demons, the nagas, the human beings, the birds, the beasts, as well as the reptiles, etc., and all the phenomenal manifestations of the universes, namely the planets, stars, asteroids, luminaries, lightning, thunder, and the inhabitants of different planetary systems, namely the Gandharvas, Apsaras, Yaksha, Rakshasa, Bhutaganas, Uragas, Pashus, Pitas, Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, and all other different varieties of living entities, including the birds, beasts, trees, and everything that be, are all covered by the universal form of the Lord at all times, namely past, present, and future. Although he is he is transcendental to all of them, eternally existing in the form not exceeding 9 inches. So here 8 inches or 9 inches, when it is mentioned, this is the Paramatma feature of the Lord. Actually, that's the this one size of the Lord that is mentioned. Anyways, So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his partial representation, measuring not more than 9 inches as Super Soul, expands his potency in the shape of the universal form, which includes everything manifested in different varieties of organic and inorganic materials. So this 8 inches, some places it is mentioned as 8 inches, and some places it is mentioned 9 inches. Basically, it's in proportion of one's own finger size. So in the heart of every single living entity, the super soul resides, in this particular form, and that super soul expands into the universal form of the Lord. So this is the explanation of the sloka, and then which includes everything manifested in different varieties of organic and inorganic materials. That means everything that we see is part and parcel of the Lord. Nothing is outside the Lord, right? So then it makes a potential entity which is different from the Lord. So that is not the Vedanta Sutra. That is not the conclusion of the Vedas. The Vedas conclude that ekam eva, like ekam eva advitiyad. That means the whole creation, everything that exists is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and nothing is existing apart from Him. Right? So that's a very important conclusion. The manifested varieties of the universe are therefore not different from the Lord, just as golden ornaments of different shapes and forms are non-different from the original stock reserve of gold. In other words, the Lord is the supreme person who controls everything within the creation, and still he remains the supreme separate identity, distinct from all manifested material creation. In Bhagavad Gita 9, 4 and 5, he is therefore said to be Yogeshwara. Everything rests on the potency of the Lord, of Lord Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna, and still the Lord is different from different from and transcendental to all such identities. In the Vedic Purusha Sukta of the Rig Mantra, this is also confirmed. The philosophical truth of simultaneous oneness and difference was propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it is known as Achinta Beda Beda Tattva. So the Achinta Beda Beda Tattva means the Lord, as a person, he is there, and then all that exists in this world is his energy. The energy and the energetic, the energy and the Lord, no, they are non-different, but at the same time, the Lord, he functions in a particular way, his energies function in a different way. So they are different and also non-different. So in what way they are different? The Lord is Lord and the energy is energy. Energy is subservient to the Lord. But then in what way they are same? Because the Lord acts through his energies. So whatever happens through the energy is the work of the Lord. So in this way, like we can understand, it is simultaneously one and different. So it's like sales representative of a company is as good as the company, but then he is not like as good as company in terms of executing the sales. But then if he were to take calls on how to invest the money what he has brought about in sales, he cannot do that. In one sense he is the same, he is equivalent to the company, but in other sense he is different also. So in the same way, all that is happening through the energy of the Lord is Lord's action. So in that way we can consider everything as a hand of the Lord, but then we cannot take everything as God. No, that is also not possible. So this Achintya Veda Veda Tattva is very amazing philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's the philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam. He didn't introduce anything new over there. So then Brahma, Narada, and all others are simultaneously one with the Lord and different from the Supreme Lord. We are all one with Him, just as the gold ornaments are one in quality with the stock of gold. But the individual gold ornament is never equal in quantity with the stock of gold, with the stock gold. The stock gold is never exhausted, even if there are innumerable ornaments emanating from the stock, because the stock is Purnam. No, the Ishopanishad sloka that Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. So that thing is there. So this stock, that is, the Lord can create any amount of energy. No, still he will not get depleted. The Lord can produce any amount of complete units. No, like this world, it's a complete unit. Whatever is needed, right from the air to breathe to food to eat and everything, all the necessities are present in this planet or supplied to this planet. So it's a complete unit. Like this, innumerable complete units are emanating from the Lord, but still He is Purnam. No, still He is full and complete. He will never become exhausted and depleted. That's not possible, because Lord is, no, this is a very, very special quality of the Lord. No, He is Purnam, complete. And even if Purnam is deducted from Purnam, still the same, still the Supreme Purnam remains the same Purnam. So the Prabhupada is trying to explain the same sloka here. This fact is inconceivable to our present imperfect senses. Lord Chaitanya therefore defined his theory of philosophy as achintya, inconceivable, and as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita as well as in the Bhagavatam, Lord Chaitanya's theory of achintya veda veda tattva is the perfect philosophy of the absolute truth. Right? So it is not some philosophy that needs to be fitted in Bhagavatam. This achintya veda veda philosophy is the Bhagavatam philosophy. Whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like other acharyas, when they come, they write elaborate books and things like that. So, but then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not wrote, elaborate books. Why? Because Bhagavatam is itself his book. No, Bhagavatam is itself the subject matter of his philosophy. So he didn't felt any need of writing any other book or his own version of anything. Right. So Bhagavatam is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy. Right. So and then next text 17. Swadishnyam patrapan prano bahischa pratapatyasho evam virajam pratapam pratapams tapatantar bahipuman. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding its universal form, maintains everything in the creation, both internally and externally. Okay, so this is possible to be completed. Okay, we will just read that. The universal form of the Lord, or the impersonal feature of the Lord, known as the Brahma Jyoti, is clearly explained here and compared to the radiation of the sun. The sunshine may expand all over the universe, but the source of the sunshine, namely the sun planet or the deity known as Surya Narayana, is the basis of such radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the basis of impersonal Brahma Jyoti radiation or the impersonal feature of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4:27. So the universal form of the Lord is a secondary imagination of the impersonal form of the Lord. But the primary form of the Lord is Shama Sundara with two hands playing his eternal flute. 75% of the expansive radiation of the Lord is manifested in the spiritual sky, that is called Tripada Vibhuti. And the 25% of his personal radiation comprehends the entire expansion of the material universes, that is Ekapada Vibhuti. So this is very important. The 75% of the spiritual sky is full of Vaikuntha Lokas, and only the 25% of the whole creation is the material universes. No, not only this universe, and millions of universes put together is just 25% of the entire space, entire real estate that we may call it. So this is also explained and stated in Bhagavad Gita 10:42. Thus, the 75% expansion of his radiation is called as internal energy, whereas the 25% expansion is called the external energy of the Lord. So Prabhupada gives a very nice analogy in this regard. So every city, when it is planned, there is a jail that is also planned, right? So in the same way, the 75% of the creation is spiritual world, the Vaikuntha Lokas. There are the place where legal entities they stay on, and the 25% of the place is the material realm, and that is where we get the jail is planned. That's material world is the jail. That is there. Okay. So the living entities who are residents of the spiritual as well as the material expansions are his marginal energies, Tatashta Sakti, and they are at liberty to live either of the energies, external or internal. So if we want to cooperate with the Lord, we can live in the internal energy of the Lord, that is the Vaikuntha planets. And if we want to be away from the Lord or against the Lord, then we can live in the external energy of the Lord, that is the material world. Right? So that is considered to be the jail. The external energy is considered to be the jail. Those who live within the spiritual expansion of the Lord are called liberated souls, whereas the residents of eternal expansions are called the conditioned souls. Residents of the external expansion are called the conditioned souls. We can just make an estimate of the number of residents of the internal expansion in comparison with the number of residents in the external energy, and may easily conclude that the liberated souls are far more numerous than the conditioned souls. Right? So now the Vaikuntha Loka is more thickly populated than the material world. The material world, we have overpopulation, and we have a lot of population, and then we have even the atomic, this one's like bacteria, virus, and things like that. All of them are living entities, and all of them put together, even many times, are the residents of the Vaikuntha Lokas. Vaikuntha Loka, there are so many more residents out there. That's the position of Vaikuntha Loka. Okay, so here we will stop, and we will start this sloka again tomorrow. So 18 sloka onwards, right? So I would request all devotees to try to propagate the word about Janmashtami, and try to see that if we can make this a grand festival by the way of inviting more and more people to take part in online programs, and few more programs also they are going to roll out. So it's like the bringing or inviting the Lord to home. So you devotees can actually book a slot, and then the Lord will come to your home, and then you can offer arati and boga, nevedya, and things like that and all. So in that way, we are trying to plan some more events also. So kindly spread the word about our festival, and that will be a great help for us in making the festival grand and accessible to many people. Right? So thank you very much for your participation. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.